All right, let's roll. Thank y'all for being here. Wrap up Saturday, and then we'll move on to K State. On Saturday, we the film kind of my feelings after the game. We got beat by a better football team on Saturday. Didn't play anywhere close to good enough to win on either in two out of the three phases, special teams and offense. Um, Neither one of those sides, we came close to being able to compete at a level that would give us an opportunity to win. And I think credit Oklahoma State. They did a lot of really good things in the game, and they were better than us on Saturday. Kind of recap. I think start with special teams. I think the positives are our punt coverage continues to be really good. We downed 2 punts inside the 10. The negatives, the big kickoff return in the opening second half when we kicked off and they got the ball back to the 40. That really affected the field position there for the whole third quarter. And then obviously the fumble punt return was huge. His 10-3 game, we just got a 3-and-out, and that was big. Led to a touchdown. Offensively, it can be summed up as this: we lost one-on-ones. They got us in one-on-one battles where there's man coverage or up front, and we lost way more than we won. Way too many negative plays. I think that's the story of that side of the ball. Is just lost one-on-ones and negative plays. Played behind the chains all day, and we're not a group that's built for that right now. Defensively, I thought we played well enough to win. That's the one phase that we did. We limited their run game, limited explosive plays, and I think the couple of penalties hurt us. The late hit on the quarterback was the right call. That went from that was on a third down play. They would have had to kick a field goal there. Have been in worst case 3-3. We give them another set of downs. They score, make it 7-3 there. I think in the second quarter. That was big, and it was a correct call. Then we had a late hit. We had them pinned down in the third quarter there. Excuse me. About 10-3, and we punted the ball. We had them on the 1, and we let them get out. We had a late hit, which I'm not sure about that one. So I think the other thing defensively, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cold. I'm all good, but a little bit of a cold. All their touchdown drives were on short fields. So that's kind of the wrap up there. I know y'all are going to give me a hard time about this damn cough. That's what I figured. All right, let's hold on. Oh, man. This cold's got me about like Oklahoma State did. All right, I think I'm ready now. Kansas State. Moving on to kind of what's next. They're playing their best football of the year. 3-game winning streak. And credit to their staff. I think they went through a little downturn there where they lost 3, and they've been able to turn it around. They've won their last 3, and really their last 2 games, Kansas versus TCU, won decisively. Going into Manhattan's a tough place to play. They've done a great job with that venue there. Really passionate fan base. It very similar to ours, I believe. It's really a tough place to play, and early kick. And so if you look at them special teams wise, they're always solid. I think that's something, and it goes back to really the history of their program there since they got it turned with Coach Schneider, is they've done a tremendous job with their walk-on program, and their walk-ons show up on special teams. They're really good. This year's no different. They've got a really good specialist punter and place kicker. Their kickoff return team is special. They've already returned 2 for touchdowns. Knowles does a really good job there. That's something that I think is going to be a really big key in the game. And then their punt return, they've always done a nice job there too. The Brooks kid, who I think he led our conference last year, and he's back and he's doing a really good job. Offensively, I've talked about this in the past. I think their OC does a really good job, Messingham. He really does as good as anybody that we play in matchups, and they've got a couple guys that are really good one-on-ones. I think it starts with Deuce Vaughn, who second-year player. They do a good job getting him isolated in the run game and the pass game, and they get him in empty. He's special. He make people miss. Really good player. We're going to have to ID him wherever he's at. Schuyler Thompson's the biggest difference this year. When he's been healthy, they played at a different level. He's a tough kid. He's a really good decision maker. I think he's completing 73% of his passes, so he's accurate. Um, and he can ad lib. He makes plays with his feet as well. And then they've got two really good receivers. I already talked about the punt returner and kickoff returner, Knowles and Brooks. And then they got good cohesiveness on their offensive line. Not very many negative plays there. Defensively, they changed their structure. Totally different look than what we played against our first 2 years. 91's a great pass rusher. I don't want to do him an injustice by trying to get his name right. But, man, he's got a great motor. Really respect how he plays. The linebacker, Green, I think he's playing at a high level. And they're extremely long at corner. You know, that's the thing that sticks out about them that's a little different than everybody else in our league. They've got really good length. You know, they're 6 foot plus, 6'3", 6'4", with a couple guys that play. And then McPherson is a really good downhill safety. You know, he was really difficult for us to get to last year in black. And I mean, even in the 3 safety system they're using now, he's getting downhill, making a bunch of plays. So they're playing well, and it's going to be a really big challenge for us to go on the road. And so with that, I'll answer questions.
So, Neal, offense, you guys had been playing better and showed improvement in the past 2 games. Regression this week, or just Oklahoma State was that good, or combination of?
You know what? We played really well against Iowa State, and then we played. I think good. I don't think great versus TCU. We played good, and so last week a combination. We didn't play very well, and I think fundamentally we lost some of that. We didn't, but and really, Greg, what I said is we lost one-on-ones, and they did a good job, and they're good now. I mean, they're good. So I think it was a combination of both. We didn't play very well. We would have had to play at our best to have an opportunity to compete against those guys, and we didn't play at our best, and they got after us, and that's credit to them, and we've got to be better. We're going to play elite defenses like that. We better bring our A game, and we didn't.
Of defending Kansas State, is there danger in focusing maybe too much on Deuce Vaughn? I think people see this sort of stat line and it jumps out. Is there a danger of focusing too much on him?
Yeah.
And losing track
Yeah. They and like I said, they do a really good job as far as they use him. There's a mixture, right? So they use him and they get him in one-on-one matchups. They also do a nice job of using him as a decoy, because he's a tough match, especially on linebackers. He's a really tough matchup in the passing game, and so. You got to be careful how you play it because, like Knowles is playing really well right now, and if you get him in a one-on-one, he's a tough cover, and so they do. And then they've got the tight end that they've done a nice job sneaking up the seam a few times too. So you got to be sound. Like I said, I really respect what they do offensively. I think they do a nice job schematically. I think they do a really good job as far as getting guys in their matchups, and they have answers. I think that's something that shows up when you watch them. They have answers.
Injuries, Neal. Woods and Dixon both left.
Yeah, Dixon's he'll be doubtful for the game. We'll see kind of how he progresses, but I would say doubtful right now. Woods is fine. He just had a cramp. He's fine. He'll be full speed today. Isdale, it's going to be touch and go. He's really working with 2 upper body injuries, and so I think it's probably too soon. We're going to see how he kind of progresses. He didn't practice at all last week. Yeah, that's good.
TCU game, 4 sacks, probably could have had 6. What did he do?
Didn't they give him 6 and then they came back or something?
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
What did he do in that game to be so disruptive?
Well, he's really long. The thing that I respect watching him on film, he plays hard. And you can try to chip him, you can try to double him, and he some pass rushers, they get really frustrated, right? I haven't seen the kid frustrated. I mean, he plays extremely, extremely hard. They do a good job of getting him out of the game some, where he's fully rested all the time. Excuse me. But he plays with a high motor, John.
Your run defense has nice numbers, and if you look even deeper, I think 6 of your 8 opponents have been held to less than what they average. So just talk about your run defense.
Well, I think it starts up front. Man, I'm struggling here today. I apologize. My wife's going to give me hard times. I ain't using any of those cough drops. If she's listening, which low percentage that she is, but if she is listening, I should have. Huh? They do work. I know. I should have. I'm going to get a big I fat told you so. But I think it starts up front, Greg, with our D line. Done a nice job. I think Akeem's playing at a high level. Dante has played at a high level. Taj Austin. Um, we're rotating more guys in there now, which has helped us. So I think it starts there. And then Josh Chandler's played really solid. And the two veteran safeties has helped us too. We get them in our run fits a lot, you know.
You mentioned the early start time. Do you prefer to get started early, get going on the road, or does it matter?
You know what, Kevin? It's like it's one of those deals. It just kind of is what it is. Oh, look at it. Forgill's helping me out, man. I appreciate it. Might save me here. Yeah, there you go. Going back to those early starts, you know, I like getting home earlier. Does that count? You know, I mean, that's the you get home earlier. You play a night game on the road. Sometimes you're not getting back to 5 a.m. By the time we pull in here. I just think you got to prepare for it during the week. You know, and what I mean by that is it's an early start time. You know, everything's abnormally early when you play those early kicks. I'm not necessarily opposed to them or prefer them at all. It's tough on the fans. I know that. But it's not. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about it. It's one of those kind of is what it is.
Let me understand something here. They list a 3-3 stack, right, for their defense. But you got to look at their two deep, and they got two defensive ends and two defensive tackles. Is the
Iowa State does that too. You know, yeah. I don't. That's probably a question for them. You know, I've got the two deep. No, they'll get to a 4 down front some, but they're predominantly playing that 3 down front. And you know what they do is they're Sam linebacker. They have a nickel. They'll play they got a certain body type they play against bigger sets, and a smaller body type they play against smaller sets. But they've gone almost wholesale to that 3-man front.
Yeah, they play pretty much their whole 2 deep. You notice that in any impact?
Yeah. Excuse me, Mike.
Their defense, they play pretty much their whole 2 deep. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they play a lot of people. They really do. You know, and what it sticks out is we were talking about the defensive end 91. You know, they do a really good job getting him rested, and that's probably why he can play with that motor so much because they rotate a bunch of guys up front. They play 3 different noses. They play about 4 or 5 different ends. They rotate a 2 deep at linebacker, and they rotate a bunch of secondary guys in. And so they do. That's a good catch by you, and they do. They roll a bunch of guys in there defensively.
Hey, Neal, kind of a tough moment for Grayson Saturday, obviously.
Yeah.
That was a big spot for him, I know. And how did you kind of handle that afterwards? And if Estelle can't go Saturday, is that still his job this weekend?
Yeah, that'll be his job. Yeah, I hated it for him. You know, and the Australian punter they have is really good. If you remember last Tuesday, same spot, I talked abnormally about the punter. You know, which probably bored y'all, but it ended up being a factor, unfortunately. But he just let it get. He took his eyes off of it for 1 second. He probably should have been in a fair catch mode. That's probably the mistake there more than anything is he should have been in fair catch mode, and he wasn't. But to his credit, he went out and caught the next one. You know, he went out and fair caught the next one, and I hate it for him in a big spot, but he's got to have a short memory if that's what he wants to do.
Talk about the early start. I know you wanted to get through that, but
Yeah.
you've not played a home night game since you've been here.
I know it, and we're not going to this year.
I know. What does that say to you?
I don't know. I really don't know. Bob, I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest with you. It's you know, we've got them within our TV package. You know, I think that's probably a question more for our conference office as much as anything. You know, I think our fans, you know, just listen to the feedback that I get when we're doing stuff is they prefer night games. You know, I've heard about night games here. Unfortunately, I hadn't been able to experience one. I don't know. You know, I don't really know how to answer it because I have zero impact on that. You know, it's I think it's unfortunate. You know, I was kind of hoping we'd be able to kick that one off next week at night, but it's going to be an early kick as well.
How much you use the bowl eligibility as a carrot? You talk
Not-
about it?
Used to, kind of got away from it, and like with this bunch that we have right now, Greg, it's like, hey, we're trying to go, we're week to week, man, and the whole thing is they know, like I don't have to talk to them about it, they know what it is, you know, but I just want us to play up to our capability. That's it. I just want us to play football the way it's supposed to be played in all 3 phases, and if we do that, then that takes care of itself. but like each team's different, right? And you kind of, as you go through the year, you kind of get a feel for how what buttons to push, what not. And that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect now because you're still dealing with 18 to 23 year olds. But with this group, I know that hey, we need to focus on the here and now, and we can't necessarily dwell on the past or the negative either because that doesn't do a good job. So we got to be focused on what do we got to do against K-State to give us a chance to win Saturday afternoon. That's the main focus. Knowing if we play the game the right way, all right, then over these next 3 weeks, then hopefully we end up eligible like you're talking about.
Even if you don't use it as motivation for the team, like, do you consider how, I know coaches talk all the time about how important bowl practices are, right? Like, so, do you have it in the back of maybe your mind at all, even if you're not talking to the team, like, hey,
Yeah, is the question, would I like to be bowl eligible? Yes. Yeah, no. I mean, I'm not trying to be smart. I'm just saying, like, yeah, I mean, for sure. I think you always start with that as your initial deal, and then you kind of build everything off of that. But it's a huge benefit. It's a benefit because for a number of reasons you get extra practices, but also in most bowl games you're the only game that's on. Go look at our TV rankings last year for the Army game. That's huge exposure. For us, not only our football program but our university. Like that's huge exposure, and so like it matters. Yeah, it definitely matters.
The 2 prior wins against these guys, what in your opinion's gone right for you?
Nah, I don't. Each game's singular, right? Each game's singular. 19 down there, we hit a couple big plays on them, and I don't think it was anything that it wasn't anything that we did consistently. And then last year they had a lot of they were down a lot of people. They had several out with COVID. Excuse me. Schuyler Thompson didn't play. You know what I mean? So like, that's not a game that I put a hold as far as when I line up and play them this year. Like normally I would go back a year and say, okay, hey, but they're totally different defensively. They've changed their schemes, and then they had a bunch of guys out. So I don't know if there's any carryover from the last 2 years.
They're surprisingly explosive, I guess, in offense. If you think about their traditional stuff.
They've had a bunch of big plays.
Any explanation for personnel scheme?
Well, they've done a decent job running the ball. So when you run the ball, they bring people down, and they've done a good job with I think Knowles can really run. They get Deuce Vaughn in some empty packages, and then they get him out of the backfield on some wheel routes, and those have been some explosive plays as well. And then the Phillip Brooks kid is really fast. He's really fast, and so they do. They've done a nice job.
You continue to see progress with Goose Crowder in practice, and any chance you try to get him a game rep or 2 before season's over?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Honestly, Gary, he's doing a nice job. I'm excited about him. He had another good night last night in a scrimmage situation. So, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm not sure just yet.
You mentioned Schuyler being out last year for the plates. It's been 2 years since you've seen him. You look at him on film. He's been a guy that struggled with injuries, obviously, but how does he look different to you now than he did then?
Well, I think that he seems like he's not running as much. He can, but he's not running as much. I don't notice him calling as many run plays for him. The one thing I think his accuracy has really improved. He's always been a guy that had a strong arm, and I think he still has that rare ability to be able to extend plays. And that's another thing, Mike, to add kind of what is a lot of those explosive plays have been on him extending plays and on some scramble type opportunities. But the thing that the improvement I see, and I'm not studying him all the time, okay, but what I see is his accuracy has gotten better.
Any thoughts on your quarterbacks from Saturday? How they played? How they responded?
We didn't play very well at that position. We really didn't. I mean, and that's the case for every position on offense. There's not one position that we could talk about that played very well. When you have that kind of output, did not play very well. We didn't do a good enough job getting rid of the ball in the pocket. I think however many sacks we had, I think 3 to maybe 4 of them were avoidable, and we had people open. We missed a run read in the first drive that should have been a walk-in touchdown when Garrett was in there, and he puts the ball on the ground twice. Just poor fundamentals. We didn't play very well at that position We didn't play very well at any position offensively. Not just I'm not picking on them. We just didn't play very well at any of those.